Okay, well apparently Halo Infinite came out today, early. I don't know why, but it did. So let's go ahead and start benchmarking this thing. I'm interested in whether or not a GTX 1060 6GB version is what I'm on, can have a good experience here. Now my system has a way overpowered CPU and RAM for this GPU, so keep in mind that if you're wondering if your system will run this game, you should also check in on your CPU. Because mine's an R9 5950X with 32 gigabytes of 3600 megahertz CL16 RAM, which is not what most people are running with the GTX 1060. So keep that in mind. Now, what graphics settings and things are we using here? This is 1080p, and we have it on the ultra settings right now. So if the frame rate seems low, that's probably why. Now we'll play around with some resolution scaling if we need to, but we're also going to lower the graphics settings and see what kind of frame rates we hit at various settings. I have not messed around with asynchronous compute. Now one thing that I will note is that I turned off the minimum frame rate. What this does is it tries to dynamically scale down your resolution to hit this frame rate target. And apparently I just died while we're in the menus. Oh well. Anyway, and maximum frame rate is if you want to limit the frame rate. I've unlocked that. To do that you have to turn off VSync. Okay, so here we are at 1080p Ultra. I'll actually try playing a little bit, and it looks like we bounce around between the mid-30s and in the mid-40s if there's like not much happening on the screen, like I'm staring at a wall. Hey look, we're up into the 50s. Look at us go. So, we can already tell that this isn't really where most people are going to want to be in terms of frame rates in a competitive game. Although I do know some people who are just like, yeah, I'm fine with 30 if it looks as good. What is this gun? I don't know. I played a lot of Halo as a kid, but I don't recognize this gun. Like, much of my high school experience was, you know, playing Halo 2, 1, 2, and 3 on the Xbox, so it feels a little weird to be playing it on mouse and keyboard, but I do actually prefer mouse and keyboard these days. It just kind of feels weird to put Halo on it. Alright, so should we call it for ultra settings? We've got the performance figured out, and it's not good enough. I will note that this GPU is actually above the minimum, but well below the recommended when you look at the system requirements. Let's switch this down to high. I believe the minimum GPU on the system requirements is a 1050 Ti, so the 1060 is actually well above that in terms of performance. And let's see how we do in combat here at high settings. Still lower than I'd want to be, although I've got to say, the frame pacing feels pretty good. I think I ran out of ammo there. The frame pacing feels good enough that the 30s here feel much more playable than they do in some other games, although I'm not going to kid myself and say that anybody should be playing a competitive shooter at these frame rates unless you absolutely have to. What I am saying is if you're on a GPU where this is the best frame rate you can get, this is feeling smoother than I would have expected, is maybe how I'll put it. It does actually feel playable, whereas a lot of competitive shooters at these frame rates I would just consider completely unplayable. That's the frame pacing. Okay, let's go ahead
Your team is close to total control
and adjust these settings. So we can tell that high is still higher than we really want to be. I forgot to click on the video tab. Let's go down to medium. Okay, medium appears to be now bouncing around between the 40s. And if I'm staring at a wall, we can still hit 60 FPS. Look at that. But it looks like mid-40s is kind of what to expect. Also notice I'm intentionally on the Big Team Battle playlist because I'm not sure, but the 4v4 arena has the potential to be easier to run. And I didn't want to give anybody the false impression on the GPU, so I'm definitely running this at the most demanding playlist, being Big Team Battle.
Your team has total control.
My team is doing well, despite me not really paying
You've got
attention.
new zones incoming.
Look at me go. Big Team Battle, I believe, is 12%. Whereas the arena is 4v4. Got assist. Look at me go. Right. Not the gun for this range, but he doesn't appear to have a better gun either. And I'm gonna assist. Where's the gun? I'm out of ammo, guys. I guess this thing has ammo. I don't know what this gun is. How does this gun even work?
Zone captured.
Hey, a carbine. Let's grab that. I've got to say, medium feels pretty playable despite the fact that we are... Wait, that's not a carbine. Plasma rifle or whatever.
Ground vehicle delivery confirmed.
Feels playable despite being below 60. But I'm curious if 30 frames per second... Sorry, if going down to low settings could get us more like a consistent 60. So since I'm on a death there, let's go ahead and do that. So we're dropping down to low settings now. And low settings, hey, we're not exactly locked in at 60, but this is pretty dang close. This is at the point where I think setting a dynamic resolution scale, or just a manual resolution scale, can easily get you to 60 without any noticeable difference, given how close we are here. I'm going to actually do that right now. So let's actually look at, what if we resolution scale down just a little bit? So instead of 1080p, right, we're just going to go down to like,
hostiles are capturing a zone.
Let's go down to like 900p, right? So let's go down to 900p. That's an 84% resolution scale. Oh, I hear my daughter crying. I'm not sure what's up with that. Apparently she's upset with Winnie the Pooh. She's watching Winnie the Pooh right now, and she doesn't like that Tigger is stuck. So apparently that's what all that's about. So going down to a 900p resolution scale, she seems to relax now, so I'm not being a bad dad. She calmed down. Okay. So if you hear Winnie the Pooh in the background, that's what's going on. Anyway, we're well over 60 FPS at a 900p resolution scale, and I really feel like the resolution scaler in this game is doing a very good job. It's actually pretty hard to spot that this isn't at a native 1080p. So going down to, yeah, a 900p resolution scale, I think that's very acceptable. Let's also try scaling down even lower. Let's go down to, it looks like 767p, 71% is the lowest it lets us go. I've got to say, guys, this doesn't feel that bad. We're in the mid-70s now, and by feel, I mean it feels good, and it doesn't look that bad. I think this is very impressive, in my opinion, in terms of the resolution scaling. I would guess this is a temporal resolution scaler, and it seems to be a very, very, very good one. Because playing the game at this low of a render resolution shouldn't look this good. This looks very close to native 1080p in my opinion. It's clearly not, but
enemy is nearing total control.
It's a, I think, very acceptable trade-off to be on an older GPU like this and getting very good playing experience. Is I guess what I'm trying to say. So the next thing I want to do is try out, what if instead of doing this manual resolution scaler, what if I put that back to 100%, and then we try out setting the minimum frame rate. So I believe what this will do is a dynamic resolution scaler, and just do whatever it has to do to try to hold 60 FPS. So it'll resolution scale as needed to try to hit this. It looks like we're maintaining well above the 60 FPS using the dynamic resolution scaler to set this as the minimum. So the main thing I'm taking away from this, guys, is that you should play around with the resolution scaler if you need better frame rates, either in terms of the minimum frame rate dynamic scaler or doing it manually. Also, I'll mention that while I'm on the low settings here, in general, it's often a good idea to turn your texture quality back up. So if I was going to actually play this game on the 1060, I think this is probably what I would do. I would turn the texture quality up, because the 1066 gigabyte has the VRAM capacity to do that. And then use the minimum frame rate setting, and away we go. So I can tell it's not native resolution, but we're certainly getting very, very playable, good quality experience here. Alright, should we finish out the match? I haven't been paying any attention to how the match is actually going.
An ally is claiming a zone.
Yeah, I think this looks pretty good and feels great. Able to play competitively easily on this GPU. Apparently I'm out of ammo.
An ally has captured a zone.
Let's go ahead and end the video here. I'll be testing out a few other GPUs. I'll be testing out an RX 6600, an RX 6800 XT, and I might even test out another processor with the i5 9600K possibly. Have an excellent day.